Okay, thank you for joining. Thank you for waiting. I hope that the connection stays stable. Today I want to talk about the Hanya Shingyo, the Heart Sutra again. Let me share the screen. So we got to the part which you could call the central part of the Hanya Shingyo. In Japanese, it would be Shiki Sokuze Ku, Ku Sokuze Shiki, this part here. Let me read the whole thing up to here. It's not very long. Kanji zai bosatsu gyojin hanya haramita ji shoken goun kaiku do issai kuyaku shari shi shiki fuiku ku fui shiki shiki sokuze ku sokuze shiki ju so gyo shiki yaku bu nyoze, which means when the Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara practiced deep prajna paramita, the perfection of wisdom, which I understand as a great letting go, completely letting go. The Bodhisattva realized that the 5 skandhas, that means this body, matter, and perception, and our grasping of concepts, and our reaction to these things that we grasp, and the whole story, the whole world that we construct around these 5 are all empty. And when the Bodhisattva realized that, he or she was liberated from all suffering. And this is when Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva of compassion, starts to preach. And preaching to Shariputra, which was the wisest of the Buddha's disciples. Shariputra is the one who had the greatest wisdom. He understood the whole Dharma. He knew it all by heart. But he is the one who has to listen to Avalokiteshvara. He is the one who thought he had understood it. He had grasped it. And Avalokiteshvara basically is telling him to let go. And the sermon starts with the words, Shiki fui ku. Matter is not different from emptiness. Emptiness is no different from matter or form. Form is emptiness. Emptiness is form. And what could be meant by this famous phrase? Here in the part where I explain some of the technical terms. First, in the beginning, I have a quote from Hakuin's Song of Zazen. Maybe some of you know that. It starts with the words, all living beings originally are Buddha. And that's a basic Mahayana teaching. All living beings, including you, originally are Buddha. How are the two related? How are living beings related to Buddha? Hakuin says it's like water and ice. Apart from water, there is no ice. Ice is water. Apart from living beings, there's no Buddha. So living beings are Buddha. But we living beings don't know that. So we look far away for Buddha. We think Buddha must be somewhere far. And Hakuin says that's like being, how do you say? You're standing in the water. Actually, you're being the water. You're right in the water and you're crying, I'm thirsty, I need water. That's how we are starving for Buddha or for enlightenment. Actually, you're already that thing that you are looking for, but you don't realize it. So you're in the midst of water, you are the water, and still you cry, I'm thirsty, please give me water. And then Hakuin says, that's like this famous rich kid in the Lotus Sutra that went astray, got lost, and traveled many countries begging for stuff, stealing things. And one fine day, the kid returned back to its village, to its home, but it had forgotten that it is that home is his own home. So the father recognizes the kid, but the kid doesn't recognize its father, and it wants to run away because the kid thinks my father is going to catch me and bring me to the police. So the father says, you can work here for me, I give you food, you have a room to live. So the kid works for the father, and he thinks he can live in that house, and he receives some pocket money because he's working for the father. Only at the end of his life, the father tells him, well, actually, that's not the case. This is your house. You've been living in your own house all the time. And the father stands for Buddha. We are already the legitimate children of Buddha. And still we think, I need to practice to get Satori in the future. And the reason why I put this quote here is, I think water and ice corresponds to form and emptiness. What does emptiness stand for? In Mahayana Buddhism, emptiness doesn't stand for just there being nothing. Everything is void. Everything is without substance. But actually, everything is born out of this emptiness. Emptiness is this water. We couldn't exist without the water of emptiness. But also, without the ice, there's no water. Without Buddha, there would be no sentient beings. But also, sentient beings wouldn't be there without Buddha. So that's the relation here between form and emptiness. Ice is something that we can grasp. Ice is something that has a concrete form. Water is something that you can't grasp. It can take any shape. That's Buddha nature. And that's, for me, the same as emptiness. Emptiness in Mahayana Buddhism is the same as Buddha nature. You can't grasp it, but that's what we are. Although most of the time we forget it and we look far away in faraway places. Okay, because of my bad internet connection, it's already 8:45. So maybe after Xuanzan translates, if you have questions or anything you would like to share, please feel welcome to do so.
我简单的说一下，因为我们今天人少，我就长话短说。今天老师讲了，其实最重要的就是《心经》里面最重要的那一句，舍利子，色不异空，空不异色，色即是空，空即是色，受想行识，亦复如是。就是我们之前讲到了五蕴，你只有在很深入练习的时候，才能够参透五蕴，才能够明白，其实佛他说的我们的身体或者是全世界都是空的，一切皆空。这句话就是白隐禅师在他的坐禅合赞里面其实提到过一个例子，就有人问他，那我们也是佛，所有一切都是佛，那为什么我们还要有佛呢？你也是佛，我也是佛。然后白隐禅师在他的坐禅合赞里面讲到了一个例子，就是水和冰的例子。水里面是没有冰的，但是水也是冰，水是可以化成冰的。但是水和冰，是一样的，但是它又是不一样的。水里边又没有冰，它只有化成冰。就是所以它这个例子其实就指的是我们其实所有的一切生物也都是佛，我们也是佛。但是我们自己其实就是佛。 你认为好像我们离佛非常的远，但其实你就在它当中，我们一直在寻找，其实我们已经忘了你和他是在一起的。老师之前讲过一个小故事，就是有一个小孩儿，他一直在偷东西，然后他全世界旅游，偷东西什么的。有一天，有个人给他施舍了很多钱，然后他就非常喜欢这个地方。后来他就和那个，其实那个人就是这样，那个就跟他父亲说，我能不能在你这儿打工，然后我就可以每天都有这样的食物，就是这样的这样有地方住了。然后当时他的父亲没有说清楚，那就是没有摆明说这是他的孩子，因为很多年之后，他那个小孩其实已经不记得他父亲长什么样子了。然后那个小孩就在他们自己家打工。然后后来那个父亲很多年之后了，然后小朋友就说，那个孩子就说我能不能住在这里，那个能不能长期一直在你这儿工作，然后这样的话我就衣食无忧。后来他那个父亲说，其实孩子你不知道，其实这就是你的家，你不用在这儿打工，其实这就是你的家。然后这个例子呢，就是说他其实这个故事当中的父亲就好像是佛一样，那个小孩儿到处已经不认识他父亲那个孩子，其实就是我们，就是我们其实出生在这样一个一切皆空的一个世界里面，一切万物，还有我们和生物，其实说佛是都一直存在的，就好像水一样，水是可以变成任何形状的。我们一直在求佛，就是我们一直大乘佛教里面讲的，其实我们是不可能抓住任何一件事物的，因为我们就是大概老师就是这个意思啊。然后有问题大家可以提。
Thank you for translating. Any questions? Anything you would like to share? We still have time. No questions? Chris, please.
I thought of a question. So the concept of emptiness is difficult to wrap your mind around, and there's probably a few different ways people interpret some of the meanings. The way you were describing it there is like this emptiness is something beyond existing and non-existing that can be the source of things. I think that's one way to think of it. And that reminds me kind of the Chinese Tao. Like they say it's undescribable and then it's kind of beyond existing, and that's where things spring up out of. But I think I learned this from you too, is there's another, I think one meaning of emptiness is that things just don't have a inherent quality. So when I was listening to you say the form is emptiness and emptiness is form, I was thinking it might mean, so there's one reality and you can either view it as having no inherent qualities, nothing's neither good or bad or has, and only can have a quality in relation to other things. And that same reality you can also view as having, relative qualities. So before you explain the two truths. So I was kind of seeing it as just simply saying that the two views of reality there's one reality. Do you think that's a main way to read that, or do you think there's many ways to read that, or do you think I'm missing a bigger point?
I think the reading that you proposed, it's interesting. It's not what I said today, but I mean, the traditional reading of the first half that all Buddhists could agree on is that all things lack some inherent, how do you say, substance. Things are without substance. Everything is void. Everything is in constant flow, and things only appear because of mutually conditioned, what we call in Japanese engi, mutually conditioned origination. The second half, for me, it sounded like something that I hear for the first time. It made sense, of course, that, and even though that's so, still, this reality has some kind of reality. Makes sense. It makes sense. But, the reading that I wanted to propose today is more that emptiness in itself is Buddha nature, which you cannot grasp. But all of us in this moment are a manifestation of this one nature. And maybe I can show you today, so I don't have to go back to that next time. There's also this small part here that I wrote below Hakuin's Song of Zazen. The first line is basically what I was talking about today, Shiki Sokuzeku, which means form is emptiness, emptiness is form. And then form is emptiness, the first half of that, for me, would be to say also like emptiness. You could also make a relation there to what Uchiyama Roshi calls universal life. Me being part of form, me being kind of an ice cube, I live this universal life. And in Japanese, there's this expression ikasalelu and ikiru. Ikasalelu means to be, how do you say, to be lived, so to speak. Somebody lets you live. Universal life lets me live. For me, that's the first part. Universal life lives through me. And then the second part is kono inochi o watashi ga ikasete ikitiru. But then I live this life. It lives through me, but I live it. And then basically form for me is eyes, it's living beings. You could also say it's samsara. Form here stands for samsara. It's the me, the concrete me. It's me doing something. But then the emptiness part, it belongs together. The emptiness part is the water, it's Buddha, it's nirvana. And as you know, in Mahayana Buddhism, we say samsara and nirvana are connected. You can't divide the two. If form is me, then emptiness is this universal life that Uchiyama Roshi talks of. If I am doing, then life is, or saseti itadaku. Maybe saseti itadaku is close to the Chinese concept of wu wei, non-doing, but there's still activity. But it's not me doing something, but the activity manifests in my doing, but it's not me doing that. And that for me is emptiness. And often the two belong together. It's not a this or that, but when I'm doing it, it's done through me. When I do Zazen, Zazen does Zazen. So for me, that's a little bit different what you said today, but what you said also makes sense. It also makes sense to me.
Yeah, I feel it's similar. It's compatible with what I was saying, but mine was more like conceptual, where yours is more, seems to me like it's more of an actual experience of the emptiness side a little bit more. That's what I was thinking from what you said, but thanks for explaining that. It's very nice. Thanks.
Two participants say it's a bad connection. I'm sorry for that. Is it now? Is it okay? You can hear me? Okay. I'm sorry. I have no idea. if it's the cable or if it's the router. I hope it's going to be better next time. Do you have any questions? Anything else you would like to comment on?
Yes. So, my English. When I hear about this concept of emptiness, I ask me, what is the use about this concept? To know that there is emptiness. And up to now, I found only for me one point why this teaching can be useful. So for me, it helps to see when everything is empty of a everlasting self. So all the things, what I see, what I can feel, what I can smell, are impermanent. Yeah. So emptiness is teaching me the impermanence of everything. And this helps maybe a little bit not to cling too much to the things, yeah, and to success and other things. So this is what I mean why this teaching of emptiness can have a practical a meaning.
Thank you. Thank you. Anything else that
Can I
you
make a
would...
comment?
Pardon? Hello?
Can I say something?
Who's speaking? Ah,
Paulo.
okay. Paulo. Yes, yes, please.
Sorry, for my background, I'm working in scaffolding at the moment.
Mhm.
Right. I think what you said before about Zazen, practicing Zazen through me, and when I practice Zazen as well, I read this before, and that caught my attention deeply, and made me think along all this time, and following what Werner just said as well. Well, it's an interesting point because I always argument how much control I have over my actions. I mean, how much is me and myself on when I decide to do something or not to do or whatever. And officially talking to other of my colleague friends in the dojo, and we all have a bit of debate on this. But for just grasping what you just said, just getting what you just said about the Zazen's practice to me, the piece of Zazen, everything is Buddha, and we all interrelated. I think just reinforces more my thought that I have very little to nothing control of what I'm doing. I do, but it seems that it's just my presence, it's just my acting, just my doing, my being. It's be ready to be. It is everything. It is the most I can do. And now, if I act, well, let's say ethically or moralistic in the modern view, if it's right or not, wrong or not, it's more if I'm grasping, trying to exactly to separate me from the world. Because if I don't separate me from myself from the world, I just go like with the Tao. I just go with everything. I don't necessarily want to take anything, get any object, any material, no privatizing anything, just go with everything. Without this modern concept of materialistic concept. So Zazen and me are not, and everything being Buddha, and like Werner said, it makes me easy as well to understand all my action into the material world. And if I see now this too complex for me, it's because the modern world is too complex. We made it too complex. And if I just try to practice Buddhism as I'm learning, seeing, and getting to the basics, accepting nothingness, and interacting and accepting the Zazen and doing Zazen, as you say, seems to be that just that we go with the flow. And I don't have any problem because I just accept it. And also, I'm not taking control. I'm not, let's say, owner of the world. My window, like I said the other time, doesn't have an action. I just accept it and go with it. That's my comment.
I think that both is important, especially in the scientific community. Today it seems to be almost common sense that we have no control over what we say and do. Everything that I say right now, I don't do out of my own free volition, but it's happening. It's just happening. So from that point of view, actually can't do anything. Everything you think that you do by your own will is done through you. But on the other hand, I think it's impossible to actually pull through with that in daily life. You have to take total responsibility of every little deed you do. So it's both. Nothing, absolutely nothing what you do, actually you do. At the same time, everything you do is completely depending on you. And interestingly, this idea that we have no free will, that everything is determined, seems to fit very good with Buddhism. But 2,500 years ago, there was a philosopher in India called, I think, Makali or so. And he had exactly this idea that everything in life is already determined. And the Buddha Shakyamuni criticized him with pretty clear words. He said, there's been no such stupid philosopher as Makali yet in this world. That's the most stupid idea I've heard of. So for some reason, Buddha Shakyamuni, although he taught there's no self, he said it's wrong to suppose that everything just happens out of itself. And I think the idea or the reason why the Buddha thought it's necessary to take responsibility is because only you can basically make this step, which I call quitting the game. Everything that just happens without you being there is part of the game. But for you to say, I quit, you need to be there. You have to do that. But anyway, so I agree with what you said. Actually, there's nothing we can do in the first place. But I would say at the same time, everything we do, we have to take responsibility for, and we have to do it with the idea, I do this. If I don't do it, it won't happen. And these two things, of course, they contradict each other, just as form and emptiness contradicts each other. But still, although they contradict, they belong together. That's my take.
I agree with you in terms of responsibility. I'm not skipping that. I think by just being there, I'm part of the world. I'm not saying determined or much less predetermined. I'm just saying that just by doing and being and happening, yeah, I have responsibility as well. Yeah, I agree with you. We are part of it. I am part of it. If I'm not doing it well, it's my responsibility. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing.
I'm sorry, I have a question for you guys, because I've never had that feeling. Like, I can understand the concept that, and I agree, it's totally possible, and many scientists believe that everything's determined. But I want to know, like, is this something that you experience when you're doing Zazen and you really feel like, wow, like I'm kind of not, everything's just happening. And then when you stop doing Zazen, do you feel like it's different? Or is it something that's always there? Is my question for you too.
Yeah, sometimes there's actually this feeling that it's running through me, but it's not always there. Although I'm not quite sure if that's really the point, to get that feeling and to be in that feeling. But sometimes when people play music or they exercise, maybe when you do yoga, basically what people call flow experience is pretty close, or maybe the same. It just happens. It happens through you. You're doing the yoga exercise, but it's not you who's doing. It just happens automatically in a way. So I think you can have this experience and then it's gone. But what I'm talking here, it's not about you having the experience. Basically, even if you don't feel that it's happening. And at the same time, you are doing it. But if you're always in this I'm doing it mode, then these moments where it feels, oh, it's flowing through me, they seem very special. But only because they seem special, I wouldn't say they are special. It's not about having these flow experiences. I think the experiences are not so important, although they can be reminders. Joseph, I think you were raising your hand for a second or so. Did you have a question?
No, I was giving a thumbs up to what.
Okay.
Werner had
Okay.
said.
Okay.
Since I'm on mic now, I'll just say that I've had that flow experience sometimes when playing music, play guitar a lot, and yeah, it's definitely a bad experience. It's a very strange feeling. It's sort of aware of what my hands are doing, but it doesn't really feel like I'm doing it. But what was the second part of your question, Chris?
I think that I would just wanted to know if that was something that they experienced when they were in Zazen.
Oh, right, yeah.
I didn't really put it together that it was like a flow state thing too. I wanted to see if this was something that just Muho and then Paulo describe as something that they experience deeply when they're in Zazen, and that when they're not doing Zazen, if it just goes away. And I got a lot of insight. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's what Muho was talking about. It's a different thing from sitting Zazen, in my experience. Whereas, yeah, it's a different kind of thing from Zazen, maybe because there's less action in it. I don't know. Anyway, I hope that was some help to your question as well, what I just said. So.
Thank you. Any other questions? Anything else you would like to share today?
Can I complement what Chris, sorry, I forgot my other participant, said about the experience. I also made this comment the other day there after meditating, and the monk said, well, the person in presence, the monk said, actually, there is nothing for you to experience. But I think I understand that. And then after talking about all the points, power, and so on, that sometimes we have, in the past, many people, at least nowadays, think about their power or exoteric power or whatever we can have through meditation. I think some feelings like you all described is actually happen from time to time, and it's nice, it's important, interesting. But I think I'm start to make a point that the most important elevation and exercise of power or anything superior power, how we can describe, categorize this experience, I think could be resumed in one single thing. Is this just now, this being of us now here, couldn't be more powerful, could not be more exoteric, more elevation, because we are in the world and be able to recognize our presence when you do the meditation. We are being able to understand the nothingness, and we are exercising this. I think thinking that the world, and we are the whole world, you in this ecosystem, we are just the whole one thing, and we are recognizing this. I think we don't need to fly, we don't need to transform this, but it's all materialistic, again, materialistic grabbing concept. I need to do this, I need to be superior, I need to do more. This is another delusion. I think just by understanding what we are doing here now, all of us, when meditating and understanding this Dharma that you will passing to us, and we are more and more being enlightened, let's say, we're empowered, you can say, it's the magic of everything already on it, just by it, because otherwise, what else would be? We are just be lost in our delusions. That's why I want to complement my
Thank you.
Sorry.
Anything else you would like to ask or share? If not, in 2 weeks I will talk about this book, To You by Sawaki Roshi, and I have the feeling I lost the connection. I don't know if you can hear me.
Hello?
Hello?